And welcome again to the Dave LewAllen Podcast. So happy that you're watching or listening to us today. This is episode 4, Sports Stories. And it is my pleasure to have with me today Earl Cureton, former Piston, 12-year NBA veteran. He works for the Pistons now as an ambassador in the community. He is a native Detroiter. Played for the University of Detroit, the Titans, and he is here with us today. Earl, welcome.
Oh, happy to be here.
And it's great to talk basketball and some of the stories that were part of your life in basketball, and what a life it has been for you. I mean, a Detroit kid growing up and attending Finney High and then traveling the world.
I had some great opportunities. I've truly been blessed. There's no question about that. I got a chance to do what I love in basketball for 15 years, which is great, and then continue on with some coaching and broadcasting and staying around the game as long as I have. But, like you mentioned, growing up on the east side, Bewick and Mac, and from there I took a ball and went all over the world with it.
Yeah, you sure did. So coming out of high school, you were not 6'9", and there wasn't maybe the opportunity initially for you in basketball because of the fact that you were 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah, and that's a big reason why I want to tell the story, the book that I got coming out here soon, because I got like a realistic story, just an average guy that just fought his way through. Back when I came out of high school, the PSL was rich with basketball players. Every school in the PSL had at least 2 major college basketball players, if not 1 pro. So it was difficult, coming out to try to be good in that league. Then I could name players and just keep naming them that came out of PSL. On the east side over there was George Gervin and Spencer Haywood playing over at Pershing High School. And, Kettering, Eric Money, Cornell Norman, Lindsey Harrison, all those guys played there. Southeastern, you had William Harmon, Kenny Harmon, and all these guys went on to play major college basketball. And me, I was 6'4", over at Finney, and averaged 20 points a game there, and struggled to make third team All-City. So.
Well, that speaks to the talent around you, not necessarily to yours, but you go to Robert Morris College, recruited there to play college basketball, and you grow.
Right. I didn't have at that time, 6'4", 6'5", Vital had got a bunch of guys, Toronto Anderson, John Long, and all those guys were right around that size and everything. Came and looked at me. I played against Bruce Flowers. I had a pretty good game against him in the state tournament that year, but I ended up going to a small college. Robert Morris was a 4-year business program with a great junior college program. So I spent my first year of college at Robert Morris College, where I had a growth spurt. I went from 6'4" to 6'8" in one season. Yeah.
And then wound up staying a second season as Robert Morris went to Division I.
Yeah, I'm taking the turns. Things was just starting to, take its twists and turns. And I knew they were going to do something, but I didn't know they were going to do it that soon. And they went from a junior college to actually NCAA Division I, which was, that was the first year that I played there at Robert Morris. And we had a schedule with like 18 away games. And, I played against Larry Bird. He was in his first year at Indiana State, and we played Rhode Island. We played some pretty good teams. It was independent, so we kind of traveled around and played some pretty good teams that year.
All right, so you grow. You have a double-double in that season at Robert Morris, and there's an opportunity to come home.
Yeah, I started getting recruited, and the word got out that I was 6'8" now and playing pretty good. And then, my sophomore year, I averaged 17, 11 rebounds a game. Detroit was a place that I always wanted to come back to. Vital had that place jumping, and we were right there. We were independent, and that was the first game I went to when I was in high school to watch a college basketball game, and I was so excited when I watched them play. In the back of my mind, I said that's where I wanted to go to school at. So, and I probably could have went, to Michigan State. I could have went to bigger schools or anywhere, but I was pretty much set on coming back with Vital, and he did a pretty good job of recruiting me. I would pick the phone up and listen to him every day on the phone for a whole year. I never got a word in, but he would tell me, and I'd listen, and I'd hang it up, and the next day it was the same thing. So I decided to come on back home.
Yeah. And then after 2 years, including an NCAA tournament appearance at Detroit, the opportunity to be drafted and eventually realize the dream of playing in the NBA.
Well, once again, it was a great opportunity. I had the red shirt due to NCAA rules. When you transfer from a Division I school to another one back then, you had to sit out a year. For me, it was great because John Long and Terry Tyler were both guys that were prepping and getting ready to go to the NBA. The bad part is Vital left when I got there. He took the Pistons job, and he took John Long and Terry Tyler with him, but left behind one of my best friends that just passed away, Terry Durod. Which everybody knew, and we had a great season. Me and Terry Durod, he set it on fire that year. He averaged about 24 points. We went to the NCAA tournaments, and it was a great year, my junior year at the University of Detroit.
Yeah, drafted then, and ultimately found your way to the to overseas, and then to the NBA, or the other way around.
Well, no, I got drafted as a junior eligible. I was actually a junior. But I was eligible for the NBA draft. So the 76ers, they took me, and I was in heaven because, I idolized Dr. J.
Yeah.
I had all his posters hanging on my wall in college, and I ended up getting drafted by the Philadelphia 76ers. So I had another year of college left, which they kind of told me, it would be good if I stayed for another year at the University of Detroit. So Durod graduated. He went on to be a Piston, and I stayed at the University of Detroit. And when he left, I got a chance to get some shots. My scoring average went from 11 points to 20 points that next year.
Yeah.
We didn't win as many games, but, I had a pretty good senior year and ended up signing with the Philadelphia 76ers right out of UAD.
And joining a 76ers team that was loaded.
Incredible. I was in heaven my first year, just there. Didn't get a lot of playing time. Back then it was 12-man rosters.
Right.
Only 257 players in the league back then. It was very difficult. I had a non-guaranteed contract going into Philadelphia. It was hard, but I had to beat out a first-round draft pick with guaranteed money. So the fight was beginning then. And I stuck with that team, and we went all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals my first year. I remember being up 3-1 against the Boston Celtics with Larry Bird, and I just knew we were going to go to the finals. L.A. had lost that year. The Houston Rockets had made the finals, and pretty much everybody knew whoever came out of the East that year had a pretty good shot at winning an NBA title. But Bird and them got us. They came back and got us up 3-1, and they ended up going, and that was my introduction to the league. The crazy part about it, the day I signed my contract with Philadelphia was the day that Magic Johnson had the 42 points and 15 rebounds. Yeah. And I was sitting in the stands, and I got a chance to witness that. So that was my first experience with Philadelphia, and then coming in next year and watching another heartbreaking series with the Celtics.
But ultimately, you achieved the ultimate as a part of that team.
Well, we came back that next year and got revenge. We beat Boston, and I think we got a little bit too excited. Faced the Lakers in the finals that year, and the Lakers got us in 6 games. And, that was my second year there, and we got that close, a step closer. And then over the summer through free agency, we made a move, and I knew when we made this move that it was going to be all good for us. We picked up Moses Malone to add him with Dr. J, so we had 2 MVPs on our team then. And I called Andrew Toney up, and I said, this is our year. I know we're going to have an opportunity to win a championship this year. Yeah.
And you did.
And we did. We went on. We had a great year, 67-17. We swept the Lakers. We lost 1 playoff game and went on to win the championship in '83.
Yeah. Get your first ring, first of 2. All right, you mentioned your book, My Life in Basketball, which is coming out. We talk about some of these names, Dr. J and Moses Malone, Larry Bird. You're talking about some of the best to have ever played the game, had tremendous success. You weren't one of those guys. I mean, in terms of superstar, yet you played 12 years in the NBA, 15 years in all in professional basketball. Your life was maybe different than Dr. J's life, but you managed and you survived. You stuck around, and you were a great teammate, and you were a lot of things, and you had to be, I guess, to stick, right?
No question about it, and I think this book will be good for a lot of young people to read. Like I say, it's a realistic story, And yeah, I'm a role player that's writing a book that had a great career.
Yeah.
Was able to survive and play with great players, from Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas, to Moses Malone, to Hakeem Olajuwon, to Muggsy Bogues. I played with some great teams over the year, and I clawed and I fought and worked my way all the way through that. Half of it without guaranteed contracts, impossible type situations, but I was able to do that. So, and I think this book will help a young person that's trying to make it and let them know what it takes if they put their heart and their soul into doing what they want to do.
Well, and it's a different game today than when you played. I mean, not just in terms of travel with team plays, but those guaranteed contracts and the millions and millions of dollars that guys are signing for and playing for. How much stress was there for you, that uncertainty of non-guaranteed contracts and fighting to keep one of those 257 jobs in the NBA?
It was very difficult. And then people really forget about role players and they look at it as like you really didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And that's another reason, because to be in a group like that, and I say at 257, that's all in the whole world that was playing professional basketball. So anybody in that 257, you got to look at and say, that person had to be pretty good to be able to accomplish that.
Absolutely.
And I'm so happy we were able to pave the way. I look at the contracts now, and a lot of people say, "Are you upset about it?" I say, "I wish I was making it."
Yeah.
But I'm not upset about it. I mean, I did what I love to do, and I had an opportunity to play basketball for 15 years, and now these guys are, they're making the millions. My whole contract for a whole year is probably one paycheck for a lot of these guys. So I just laugh at it and look at it now. And it was extremely difficult. It was a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. Injury wasn't an option, Had to try to stay healthy every year. You had to be ready. And every year it's a new class coming in. So a new draft, new players coming in. So you had to always stay on top of your game and be ready to go to be able to survive.
How did you survive that?
Well, I stayed focused. I worked extremely hard. I had good people that gave me a lot of confidence. My coaches from high school, Vital, the stuff that I learned from him was just incredible over a short period of time. Vital was, a lot of people don't know he was a really good college coach that prepared you not only for basketball but for life. He would talk to you and lecture you 45 minutes, and you would hear the stories. And I was the guy that always listened.
Yeah.
And he told me some things that just stuck with me for the rest of my life. And it was all about, just working hard every day. He always said, every day that you don't work hard is somebody somewhere in this world passing you by. So I made it a point that I went out and gave 110%. I got on my knees at night and prayed, and I went out there and did what I had to do each and every day.
You played 12 years, as we mentioned, in the NBA for 7 different teams. So, you traveled, certainly the circuit. You played with and against some great players, though. What Dr. J and Moses and some of those guys, and Jordan you played with for a short period of time, Isaiah here in Detroit. From your standpoint of being around and being a teammate of all those different guys, what was it about them? Why were they the great players that they were?
Well, you take a combination of talent and hard work, and if you put those two things together, you come out with a great player. And I think those guys had that in common. I idolized Dr. J. When I was in high school and college, and he didn't disappoint me. I had an opportunity to watch him for my first year. Just the way he dressed, just the way he handled the media, the way he played the game, the professionalism that he brought to the game, and as a young player, that was valuable to me. So I kind of followed that roadmap. As I went forward, I want to be like that guy. He would pull up in the nice Mercedes every night with the family and go out there and put a show on. It was always professional, always handled off-court and on-court situations in the right way, and I learned a lot from him. And then coming here playing with a guy like Isaiah Thomas, even though he was younger than I was, and I had already accomplished some things when I got here, but I saw a guy that was driven to win a championship. I remember when I first got to Detroit, Detroit hadn't been to the playoffs.
Right.
It was a long time they hadn't. I went all the way to the finals 2 times in a row, and I'm sitting there. And the first couple of days I was in the locker room, Isaiah was talking about winning a championship. And I'm looking around the locker room, and I'm saying, what is this guy talking about? You know, we don't have – but he was saying, we're going to win it. You know, we got the team, you know. And in my mind, I'm like, God, there's no way, you know. And I wasn't playing a whole lot of minutes in Philadelphia, but I knew I was going to be in the rotation with Detroit. And, you know, so sure enough, you know, the season started. We started playing, and we won 49 games that year. I had Ken Benson, Cliff Livingston, John Long, Terry Tyler, that group. But we had a good team, and we had a great leader with Isaiah Thomas. 49 games, one game away from winning the division. And that's when I knew in my mind that he knew what he was talking about. Yeah. So I learned that, you know, hard work and being confident. And from him, you know, he taught that at a very young age. So I was blessed to have that opportunity to be able to play with him.
And blessed to be able to play professionally in your hometown as well?
Oh, coming back home, that was great. Yeah. You know, I missed John Long and Terry Tyler. I didn't play with those guys in college because I redshirted the year. I practiced with them each and every day. But I got a chance to spend 3 years with my teammates from college. So and nothing could be better than that. You know, I remember I think it was my second year, Spencer Haywood actually came in a training camp. If he would have stuck, that would have been something to talk about because it would have been 4 University of Detroit guys playing for the University of Detroit. So,
yeah, fantastic. Memories of your time in the league? I mean, the championship certainly, and success that the teams that you were part of had, but what else about the journey, you know, when you reflect back on 15 years as a professional basketball player?
Well, just the lessons you learn, the friendships that you develop that haven't went away to this day. It's difficult moving around and being traded like that, but I developed some great friends that I still stay in contact with to this day. You know, my book's coming out. It's being forwarded by Dr. J and Isaiah Thomas. You know, how good is that? You know, if I can't sell it, I got those two guys that's forwarding the book for me. You know, I got a chance to play with Muggsy Bogues, incredible athlete. You know, I tell everybody, all the names I named, Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas, this guy was probably the most incredible guy at 5'3" to play 14 years in the league. And I had a chance to play with him for a season. You know, Dale Curry was my teammate, and Steph Curry is his son. Was a little bit in diapers back then, running around. He had no idea, you know, he was going to be MVP of the league and all the things.
Greatest shooter of all time.
Of all time. So just the experiences, you know, going to play with Akeem Olajuwon and down in Houston, and you know, I got good stories in the book about that journey going there. Even Magic put together a touring team when he came down, when the HIV thing came out with him, and he wanted to continue to keep playing in the Olympics, and he put a touring team together, and we traveled with that touring team. So I got a chance to play with him and go to different countries and everything and mix it up with Magic as well, you know. So, yeah, I mean, all those things and just the different experiences. I played for the best teams in the league. I played for some teams that was almost there, and I played for the worst team in the league with the Clippers one year. And that definitely was an experience. They sent me there. That's when I really found out that being a role player, because the Clippers, they let me play as long as I wanted to. You know, I could do anything I wanted to, but we won 12 games the first year and 17 the next. I said, well, no, I need to get back to, you know, these good teams. It was a lot more fun being in those type of situations. Yeah,
playing is one thing, but having a chance to win is something else, right?
Well, basketball is a team sport. I think it's you know, people are seeing that more and more now. I know they talked about it last year in the playoffs. You know, you look at this Miami team, they got all undrafted guys on their team. They had different guys stepping up on different nights. You know, you just don't win NBA titles without guys like myself and role players. You know, you got to have those type of guys to blend in with your superstars. You know, basketball is a team sport. You can't just throw 3 superstars together and think it's going to be magic for you because it don't work that way.
Well, and we've seen that in some cases where, you know, it's worked. I mean, when the Celtics won, right? But it doesn't always work. I mean, you can put 3 superstars together, but
you're going to have them. But at some point in time, you're going to have to rely on those role players to pull it out. You know, my year in Philadelphia, we all got an opportunity to contribute. You know, I came in Game 2 and threw a hook over Kareem at the end of the game and held the fort down for 6 or 7 minutes and enabled us to win a basketball game. Clint Richardson, another guy, came in Game 1 and did his thing to help us win a basketball game. You know, Franklin Edwards, you know, up in New York. So all of our players on the bench made a contribution. Everybody can say, you know, I made a contribution going toward that championship. And obviously, you know, Dr. J and Moses Malone and Mo Cheeks and Bobby Jones and them were the leaders of our team. But we had a great supporting cast. And we all still talk to each other to this day. just to show how close of a team we were. 40 years later, we're still in contact. I can pick the phone up. We can all come together, and it took us a day to get together.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Let's talk about a couple of these players. You mentioned Isaiah and Dr. J with the forwards for your book, which is coming out, My Life in Basketball. Greatest player that you played against? I mean, is that Dr. J? Is that is that Bird? Is that Parrish? Is that, who
I don't know why his name get left out the conversation, but Kareem was the most dominant player, in the league. He had more points than anybody, and he had a shot that nobody in this world could stop or duplicate. To me, he's at the top of the ladder with that. Picking the greatest player ever, that's a difficult thing to do. If you go back in history, you got your Oscar Robertsons, your Elgin Baylors, and all the Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain, and you come forward to Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, and how do you it's just different. You had great players in different generations that did great things, so it's pretty hard. Obviously everybody looked at Michael Jordan and say he's the GOAT. You can agree with that to a certain extent. But then you got to think about all these other great players that contribute to the game as well.
Well, and now LeBron is at 40 is still going strong in the NBA, and a lot of people, it's like Michael, LeBron. Obviously different eras again, different individuals, but both great players.
And just think about it. We didn't even mention George the Iceman Gervin.
Yeah, right.
He's got a book coming out here in October too as well. The Iceman, I was born to score.
Yeah, and a statue now for him in San Antonio.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Eastern,
his name's got to be in that car. He was one of the all-time greats as well.
Yeah. All right, so among your duties today after your career, and you coached in professional basketball as well, and for the last, 10 years now, you've worked with the Pistons as an ambassador.
Yeah, those years kind of went by, but I'll tell you what I really enjoyed. Tom Gores, when he moved the team from out in Auburn Hills to Detroit, he said he wanted to be impactful in the community coming back to Detroit. And boy, has he kept his word. We do so many great things in the community. We just put 60 playgrounds in. He's got another project that's going up over in River Rouge where they're going to put a recreation center and all that stuff in. The project they got going on down with Henry Ford Hospital that's coming around where you're going to go down West Grand Boulevard and glorify that whole area and do some things there that's going to be really impactful. And a lot of the things I do are in my neighborhood. I just left Osborne High School where we were able to team up with the United Dairy and put a weight room in over there, which they didn't have a weight room. And I grew up, on the east side of Detroit, so Osborne, Denby, and all these places I've been able to revisit. I'm able to get into the schools and talk to the kids, and we work with the police department with all the things we got going on, and obviously the project with St. Cecilia that's we got coming up here soon. And
let's talk about St. Cecilia because that's the home for basketball for young people. It was the place, St. Ceciliaville, Sam Washington, and you played there. So many players. Anybody who was a player in your day was at St. Cecilia.
No question. Sam Washington Sr., before he passed away, and I don't think if he's looking down, he created something that was really special.
Oh, yeah.
Dave Bean was probably the first big-time pro that came in there with him. Dave was in between contracts with the Pistons and just needed some place to work out. And he teamed up with Sam, and Sam allowed him to use the gym to come in. And his family, they live right across the street from it. So when they got in there, conversation started up, and he convinced Dave to start bringing some of his other friends over. And obviously Dave needed people to work out, so Jimmy Walker and all those guys would come over. Willie Norwood and his teammates that were with the Pistons then would come down there and start playing. And one thing led to another one. Then they decided to start a league up at St. Cecilia. And this gym, when you see it, it's just a small place. Not only professional players, but just regular everyday people had a chance to play. And our young players, our high school players, we had a college league, we had a high school league, and we had a pro league down there. So when you came in, when I was 15, 16 years old, I could go there on the weekends and I could play a basketball game, and I could sit there and watch some of the great college players come in. And at the end of the day, I watched the pros come in. and we walk in the parking lot, and Bob Lanier may be in the parking lot, Dave Beam may be out in the parking lot. We could rub elbows with these guys and see these guys, back then at St. Cecilia. So I would spend my whole day there. I go 9 o'clock in the morning, and I might be there at 7 to 8. We go to the Burger King down the street, come back, hope a team didn't show up, try to get another game, It was just great, and it was a melting pot. It happened, 67 we had the riots, and that kind of divided, our city. It was a race riot that we had. St. Cecilia also became a melting pot. Brother Rice, they brought their players down, probably one of the first white teams to come in there. And, I remember the players hanging on to Norton when they walked in, nervous. At the end of the day, you could not find one player. So those friendships that was developed at St. Cecilia it lasts a lifetime. Those guys still talk about it. I get more people on the street stop me now and tell me how they dunked on me at St. Cecilia. And I tell them that's not true.
Talking stories with Earl Cureton, the former Piston, now Pistons ambassador with the franchise in town on the Dave LewAllen Podcast, talking stories, talking about the St. Cecilia in Detroit, and the project that you've been talking about for years, trying to refurbish, enhance, grow again the Saint. As you call
a lot of people were, doing some things. I mean, me and Ike McKenna started talking about it, and I'm good friends with Ike McKenna, and he spent time down there when he was on the police force, the department and all, and they would go and play in the gym, and we said we don't want this place to go away. It was a lot of people kicking it around and not really getting it done. So we decided to go, full blast. We spent the last 2.5 years just trying to get people to invest in it and try to bring it back. Motown's coming back. To me, St. Cecilia is the Motown of basketball. You name the players. I mean, you got Derek Coleman was down there with me the other day, and Grant Long, and Dave Bing. They all came down when we had the press conference to talk about it. But you talk about the Russell brothers out of Pontiac, because we had people coming from the suburbs to come play there too. Glenn Rice, Jeff Greer. The locals here with Jalen Rose. I mean, just generational stuff. Greg Kelser, myself, and Terry Durod, and all of us came in the 70s. And, after that, you had Steve Smith and Derek Coleman, Vashawn Leonard, and Howard Isley, and all these guys come in. Then you come back with Chris Webber and Jalen Rose, and all the way to Josh Jackson. Just recently here. And I'm just touching the surface and naming these guys, and not to mention the Eric Moneys, the Cornell Normans, the Lindsey Harrisons. Just so many great guys. Teams from New York would come in and play. All of our pros that came into town to play for the Pistons, they all would come down in the summer, from Vinnie Johnson to Isaiah Thomas to Rick Mahorn, Joe Dumars, Lindsey Hunter, and all these guys would come in and play at St. Cecilia. Bernard King made a trip here one summer and played up at St. Cecilia. So the Saints is equivalent to the Rucker League, the Baker League. So it's something that we need to keep going and give our kids the opportunity. Not only we want to do basketball, but we want to do mentoring. We want to do services throughout the community over there. Have health screening. Mentoring the kids. Have good mentors in the building for them to come in and do a variety of different things. If the basketball bring them in, we want them to get a whole lot more out of it.
So St. Cecilia, the Pistons have made a contribution as well to that fundraising effort. Mm-hmm. What's the timeline? What are your hopes for being able to, move forward with all that you want to do at St. Cecilia?
Well, we're starting right now. Belfort has been great. Shelton came in from Belfort, owner of and they're really gung-ho about doing it, and I take my hat off to him. He's made his contributions along with the Pistons of pushing the uniforms and everything for us, and we're just looking for more investors. We met with several people and talked about it. Our first phase would be to just expand the building to make it bigger. We want to put it where it probably seats about 2,000 people in that area right there, and have room to keep expanding it. We want to make a huge project out of it, and we're trying to get as many people to invest in it as we possibly can, because I think it's going to be good for our youth. You look at where it's sitting on Illinois. That feeds right into the University of Detroit, which they're going to do some great things down there to make that more of a college town down in Illinois. So St. Cecilia here, the University of Detroit moving down, and then you fall right into the Avenue of Fashions. So you're talking about bringing neighborhoods back. Yeah. I think this would be a big part of it to do that. And it's going to be so impactful to our youth because it was for us growing up. I'd like to see that duplicated.
So how do people, if they're interested, they see this, if they hear this, how do they get involved in supporting this effort?
Well, we had it all on the websites. They'll go in, they can contact and let us know. I don't have all the information right here with me right now.
We'll put it in the show link.
We can put it in, and it's a place you can contact. And if you want to donate, you want to come in, we want to get the whole community involved. All kind of different ways. We got all kind of marketing ideas. We want to have a wall of bricks with everybody that played, because everybody played down there. They want to put their names up on the wall. We're going to give them an opportunity to be able to do that. But I think it's going to be a place, not only for our youth to come in and play, but for people generational can come back in that building and meet up again, and have and share some stories and have a good time.
And one of the stories that you've got to have you tell, you mentioned all the guys that would come into the gym in the summertime, the pros and everything. And Moses Malone came in one time and tell me that story.
Well, actually, Daryl Dawkins.
Daryl Dawkins, that's right.
Daryl came in. Of course, Magic, came up from Lansing, and he stayed there, and he had to prove himself here. But I made friends with Daryl when I was in Philadelphia, and he came home with me one summer. And so I said, we got to go to St. Cecilia. So I bring him up to St. Cecilia, and Sam Washington's always sitting right there at the front door. He would charge $1 for everybody to get in, and he'd be there every day. And I walk up with Daryl Dawkins, and I brought him right when we get ready to play a championship game. And you could add players as you go. It didn't matter. We didn't have any rules, so whoever was in town. And so I tell Sam, I said, well, I got Daryl. Daryl's gonna play with me. And Sam said, no, he's not. He said, we don't have another backboard in here. He said he's not gonna come in here and tear my rim down. He said we can't replace the backboards like they do in the NBA, so I can't let him play.
Well, and of course, Daryl Dawkins was famous for shattering backboards and bringing them down, right?
And I'm sure he probably would have broke one in that gym.
Well, that just again speaks to the fact that it was the place to be in the summertime.
Right. No, it was some great times, great memories, and everybody's got their own version. From the generations. Jalen Rose and Chris Webber and those guys can come in here and tell you, and they were young kids. Watching the Iceman and watching these guys and standing on the sidelines, and they got their stories about growing up looking at these guys and then making it to the pros themselves. Derek Coleman and Steve Smith. Those two guys were always together and running together, and Doug Smith, and I just so many guys. Terry Durod, another guy that put shows in there. Night in and night out. He meant so much to St. Cecilia and to the whole city of Detroit.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, can't let you go without talking about a new NBA season. We're in training camp. Season's just around the corner. Pistons have been trying to build something. Have been trying to get back to beyond a competitive level. From your standpoint, are they making progress?
Yeah, I mean it's the reboot. Like they said, and Troy Weaver's done a great job. He's drafted really well. We got Cave Cunningham. We got a lot of top picks on this team right now, and what he's did over the last couple of years is give these guys an opportunity to come in and play and get better each and every year. Isaiah Stewart. We got two fifth players in the league that we brought in with Jaden Ivey, Asher Thompson that came in this year. And both of those guys are going to be real good players. Slowly but surely, we went out and got a top-notch coach that's used to coaching young players. With Monty. I think that was a great addition for us to add him. I think he's going to do a great job. He got the job done down in New Orleans, and as well, he got it done in Phoenix too. So we were lucky and fortunate enough to get him to come in here to work with the guys that we got. Durham was a great pickup. A 6'10" kid that's, the sky's going to be the limit for him. Wiseman, was like a number 2 pick draft that's coming in and still developing. And all these guys are still really young. I think we got 2 or 3 guys that don't even have driver's license right now. So they're exciting. Dwayne Casey did a great job with them. Is still a part of our staff right now. So we got the brain trust with him in the front office still. And I just think, we got to be patient with him. Give him an opportunity. Obviously, you're going to have to add maybe some superstar power to that as we go along. But I think you will see some exciting things. Cave Cunningham was out with injuries all last year. He's back, and he's full strength. He's picked up some muscle now, and they played their first preseason game against Phoenix the other night. And, and it was exciting, down 18-19, came back, went to overtime. And I think you're going to see a lot of that going on because we got a lot of good young players on that team.
Well, certainly there's a lot of pent-up anticipation for, this team to take a major step forward. I mean, let's get back to some winning here.
Yeah, we want that to happen. There's no question about it. And Detroit, we've been fortunate.
Yeah.
Our fans know what good basketball is. Our bad boys, and our go to work boys, and I mean, we got 3 world championships here. Not to mention our women that did it 3 times too. We're spoiled here in terms of winning, and we got to get back to that. The Lions are setting it on fire, and finally here. We had to wait years and years, but now everybody's excited about what they're doing. And hopefully, it's going to be a great year for them, and we want to follow suit with the Pistons as they go on.
We thank you for the time here. Continued good luck with your work with the Pistons in the community as an ambassador. And good luck with the book, too. My Life in Basketball.
Got to go out and get that book. I tell you what, there's some good stuff in there. There's good stories. Shared a little bit with you on this podcast, but I think it's going to be a great read. And my name is the Twirl, and I tell you what, it's twists and turns to that.
Well, and we should have asked that. Who coined the Twirl?
My man Dick Vitale.
Yeah.
He gave us all nicknames when we were in college, and John Long, Thunder and Lightning, Sweet Dew, and he named me Earl the Twirl, and that name stuck with me ever since. So
Earl the Twirl Cureton is here with us. We thank you for your time.
You're welcome. My pleasure being here.
All right, and we'll be back next time on the Dave LewAllen Podcast. Thanks to our producer director Josh Bowron, and to you for joining us, watching or listening on your favorite podcast source. And as always, be kind.